She walked onto the range like she didn't belong there. Nervous hands, borrowed ear protection, and a look that screamed newbie. No one paid her much attention. Just another beginner trying her luck, right? But what no one saw coming was what would happen next. At first, she struggled. Her stance was off, her grip too tight, and her shots scattered like leaves in the wind. The others around her, mostly regulars, barely looked up. Some even smirked quietly. They'd seen it 100 times. A beginner shows up, fumbles through a few rounds, and calls it a day. But she didn't walk away. She stayed, she watched, she asked questions. And then something shifted. It wasn't planned, it wasn't dramatic. In fact, it happened so quietly, no one noticed until it was too late. With one hand steady and the other tucked behind her back, almost like she was daring herself, she raised the pistol, exhaled slowly, and pulled the trigger. Asterisk bullseye asterisk. The echo rang out louder than before. Heads turned. Even the instructor froze. One clean shot, dead center. And the best part, she didn't even flinch. But that's just where the story asterisk starts asterisk. Because what no one knew, what asterisk she asterisk didn't even know, is that this wasn't just beginner's luck. It was something deeper. Something that had been waiting to come out. And what happened after that one shot would change everything, not just for her, but for everyone on that range. So who was she really? And what pushed her to pick up that gun in the first place? Stick around, because what comes next will leave you speechless. Her name was Maya, 23, quiet, and the kind of person most people overlooked. She worked at a local bookstore, kept to herself, and never really stood out, until that day at the shooting range. No one there could have guessed that she'd never even touched a firearm before, let alone fired one with that kind of control. It didn't make sense, and that's what started to bother people. The instructor, a retired officer named Rick, couldn't stop watching her after that shot. He'd trained dozens of people, police, security guards, even competitive shooters, and still something about Maya didn't add up. Her form, her focus, it was raw, sure, but it wasn't random. It was like muscle memory, buried deep, finally waking up. And the way she held the gun in one hand, that wasn't beginner behavior. But Maya just smiled awkwardly and said, "I got lucky." She packed up her things like nothing had happened, ready to head out. Rick stopped her. He asked if she'd come back. She hesitated, then said she might. What no one at the range knew was that Maya had a past she didn't talk about, not to her co-workers, not even to her closest friend Jenna, something she'd tried to forget. But lately, those memories had started creeping back, loud footsteps at night, shadows where there shouldn't be any, the feeling of being watched. She thought going to the range might help her feel in control again. She never expected it would unlock something else entirely. That bullseye was more than just a shot. It was a signal, a moment that cracked open a door she'd been trying to keep shut for years. And now that it was open, there was no turning back. The question was, what had she just stepped into? Maya returned to the range the next week. She told herself it was just for practice, nothing more. But something about the way Rick watched her made her uneasy, like he knew she was hiding something. Still, she said yes when he offered to train her privately. Part of her wanted answers too. Why did that shot feel so natural? Why did holding the gun feel more familiar than foreign? Each session, Rick pushed her harder. And each time she rose to it. Faster reflexes, tighter groups, sharper instincts. It wasn't just talent. It was like some part of her had been waiting to be triggered. Rick grew more curious. He started asking questions. Where she grew up, if she had family in law enforcement, military background maybe. Maya brushed it off with vague answers. The truth was, even she didn't fully understand what was happening. Meanwhile, back at her job, things were unraveling. Jenna noticed Maya becoming distant, staring off, jumping at sudden sounds, staying late for no reason. One evening, Jenna followed her, just to be sure she was okay. That's when she saw Maya slip into the back entrance of the range, after hours. No one else around, just Maya and Rick. Jenna didn't know what to make of it. Maya was keeping secrets, and that wasn't like her. What no one knew was that someone else had started watching Maya too. A man in a black hoodie, always across the street, pretending to be on his phone. He never approached her, never said a word, but he was there, every evening, same time, same place. Maya noticed him once, and just for a second her calm broke. Her hands trembled. She knew that stance, that look. She'd seen him before, somewhere far away. Or maybe not far enough. The third time she saw the man in the hoodie, he wasn't across the street. He was inside the bookstore. Maya froze mid-step, her eyes locking onto him as he stood near the back shelves, pretending to browse. He didn't look up, but she knew it was him, the way he stood, the tilt of his head. She could feel the weight of his presence pressing on her chest like a warning. She quickly turned and walked to the front, hands trembling, trying to keep her voice steady as she told Jenna she needed to leave early. Jenna noticed the panic, but didn't ask questions, yet. That night, Maya didn't sleep. She lay in bed, heart racing, one hand under her pillow where she'd started keeping her newly registered pistol. Every creak in the hallway made her eyes snap open. She wasn't paranoid, she was being watched. At the next training session, Maya told Rick everything about the man, the feeling, the strange memories she couldn't place. Rick didn't laugh. He didn't doubt her. Instead, he nodded slowly, then disappeared into a back room and returned with a dusty box. Inside were old files, worn photos, and a list of names, one of which made Maya's breath hitch. The name didn't just ring a bell, it opened a floodgate. Suddenly, she remembered the warehouse, the shouting, the gunfire. She was younger then, terrified, hiding behind crates while voices argued in the dark. And that same hooded figure, he was there, not watching her, asterisk hunting her asterisk. She had been part of something once, something bigger than she'd ever understood, and someone hadn't forgotten. Now, as her training pushed past drills into live simulations, Rick's concern turned to urgency. You need to be ready, he said, because whatever you walked away from is walking straight back to you. Maya thought the danger was coming from the outside, that the man in the hoodie was the problem. But what she didn't see, what no one saw, was that the real threat was already close, closer than she ever imagined. It started with a message. An envelope slid under her apartment door. No name, just a photo. Her and Rick standing at the range, mid-training, taken from a distance, written in red ink underneath. Asterisk, he's not who you think he is, asterisk. She stared at it for a long time. Her first instinct was to confront Rick, but something held her back. Instead, she kept training, asking more questions, watching his every move. That's when she noticed it, how he always steered her away from certain shooting techniques, avoided certain questions about her past, and brushed off anything to do with government work. And then she found the file, hidden in his office, a personnel record. Her name, but not her photo. A classified identity. The file was old, almost wiped clean, but it was enough. Enough to tell her Rick had known who she was long before she walked into that range. Suddenly, the bullseye, the attention, the offer to train her, it all felt staged. Not random, not chance. She wasn't just being watched. She was being asterisk guided asterisk. Meanwhile, the man in the hoodie showed up again. Only this time he wasn't alone. Maya spotted him on the security cameras outside the store. 3 men, armed, waiting. But they didn't move. Not yet, just watching, waiting for her to make the next move. Now Maya didn't know who to trust. Rick had secrets. The hooded man had a past. And she was caught between both, at the center of a conflict she didn't understand, but one she clearly wasn't meant to survive. Maya knew she had to act, but every move now felt like a trap. The line between ally and enemy was too thin to see. She decided to test Rick, ask questions she already knew the answers to, bring up details from a file she wasn't supposed to have. But Rick didn't flinch. In fact, he leaned in closer and said something that knocked the air from her lungs. "I was the one who got you out, Maya. You just don't remember." She didn't believe him, not at first. But then he showed her an old video file, grainy and silent. A younger version of her, bloodied, terrified, being pulled through a dark hallway by someone in tactical gear. The mask came off at the end. It was Rick. Same eyes, same voice. And suddenly, pieces started fitting together in a way that made her sick. She wasn't just part of something. She had estate something. A black ops program that never officially existed. She'd been trained, briefly, secretly, before she fled. Someone had wiped her memory, buried the instincts, sealed it all away. But now it was coming back. And she was dangerous. To both sides. The men outside weren't there to kill her. They were there to take her back. But just as Maya was starting to believe Rick, another message arrived. This one was from Jenna, a shaky voicemail, her voice barely a whisper. "Maya, something's wrong. I think someone's been in my apartment. I found files. On *U*, please call May." The message cut off. Maya's hands trembled as she replayed it. If Jenna was in danger, it meant the fight wasn't just hers anymore. And maybe, just maybe, someone had been using both of them as bait. Now it wasn't just about survival. It was about the truth. And whoever had buried it was getting closer. Maya didn't hesitate. She left the range and drove straight to Jenna's apartment, heart pounding the whole way. Every red light felt like a warning. When she arrived, the front door was cracked open. Lights off, silence. She stepped inside slowly, gun drawn, calling out Jenna's name. No answer. She found Jenna in the living room, shaken but unharmed, clutching a folder full of documents, photos, classified reports, pages stamped with government seals. All of them led back to Maya. But the twist came in the last page. A surveillance photo. It wasn't of Maya this time. It was Rick. Not from years ago. From last week, in a meeting with one of the armed men who had been watching her. Before Maya could process it, the window shattered. Smoke grenades rolled across the floor. In seconds, masked men stormed the room. Jenna screamed. Maya reacted without thinking, grabbing Jenna and diving behind the couch as gunfire cracked through the air. This time, Maya didn't hesitate. Muscle memory kicked in. She moved like someone who'd done this before, because she had. She dropped two of the men with clean shots, then pulled Jenna into the hallway. Just as they reached the stairwell, Rick appeared at the top. But he wasn't aiming at her. He was aiming past her, at the last man coming up from behind. One shot, clean, silent. "I didn't lie to you," Rick said, breathing hard. "But I couldn't tell you everything. You were the last in the program. They were coming to erase it." Maya didn't answer. She was too focused on Jenna, making sure she was okay, trying to keep her breathing steady. The danger was over, or so it seemed. As the sirens wailed in the distance and backup arrived, Maya stepped outside, still clutching the folder. That's when she saw it, another envelope on the hood of her car. Same red ink, new message. Phase 1 complete. She's active. The days that followed were quiet, but not in a peaceful way. More like the calm after a storm, when the air still carries tension and every sound feels louder than it should. Maya stayed with Jenna while the authorities, at least the ones they could trust, took over the case. The men who attacked were linked to a private contractor that had gone dark years ago. Off the books, no official ties, no official consequences. Rick disappeared. One moment he was at the scene giving statements, the next he was gone. No calls, no trail, just a text that said, "stay ready." Maya handed over the folder, but she kept copies. She needed to know what had been done to her, who had signed off on it, and why it was starting all over again. The photo on her car confirmed it. She wasn't the only one still active, and she wasn't the only one being watched. Jenna tried to return to normal, But things had changed. Their friendship wasn't broken, but it wasn't the same. Too much had been revealed, too much hidden for too long. Still, Jenna stayed close, checking in, making sure Maya didn't drift too far into whatever this new reality had become. Maya went back to the range, not because she needed to learn anymore, but because it helped her stay grounded. Her aim was sharper now, her mind clearer. She wasn't running from the past anymore, she was facing it, one shot at a time. And as she stood there, one hand steady on the grip, the target in sight, she took a breath, not because she was afraid, but because she was ready. Ready for whatever came next. Because now she wasn't just a beginner. She was the one they never expected to wake up.